Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hashtag Sports and welcome to the first ever edition of Hashtag Fantasy Football Friday, where we take a look at the upcoming fantasy football season and I give you some out of the box type ways to think about this fantasy football season, some perspectives you might not be familiar with, but still might help you win in fantasy football this upcoming season. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button for continual Buffalo Bills, we got you, and NFL content. Again, as Mario and Paul went over Wednesday on the live, we're going to be doing a little bit more of the NFL content, right? So if you want to go over to Twitch, you'll see some hashtag sports exclusive content over on Twitch. If you want to stay here on YouTube, a lot of our Buffalo Bills content right here on YouTube. So you want to stick around right here. Of course, hashtag sports. You follow us on Twitter, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Instagram, follow us all over the place. We're all over. But where we haven't been for the past 2 months is in your homes. You haven't been able to listen to hashtag sports. And as Paul and Mario brought up on Wednesday, sometimes you need a little break. They've been in this for a long time and they deserved a break. And it turned out I needed a break too for other reasons. But we are all back and we are ready for what is going to be a wonderful 2025 season, whether you're talking about fantasy football, whether you're talking about the Buffalo Bills, whatever you were talking about. We know that there are ups and downs, and hashtag sports is going to be with you every single step of the way. And that is why I want to bring up my next point again. Mario also brought up on Wednesday that this channel, hashtag sports, is for you guys, the fans. It's for hashtag nation, the guys who stuck with us and girls who stuck with us for the past 2 months when we haven't been doing content. We want you guys to have your voices heard. So if there is some sort of fantasy football show or fantasy sports show that you're looking for, leave it in the comment section. Let me know what you're looking for. Do you have any fantasy football questions, any fantasy football things that you want to go over? Sure, right now, you might not be talking about who I played, this guy or this guy. It's who do I draft? And I know a lot of you right now are like, Joe, it's June. It's June. I'm not looking to redraft until August, maybe September, early before the season starts. I understand that. But if you're in a dynasty league, if you're in a keeper league, your fantasy football season does not end. And maybe you already had your rookie draft. It's very possible that happens right after the NFL draft. I understand that. Or maybe you haven't. And this is something that you want to listen to. Make sure you let me know that in the comment section. But for now, I'm going to think that your drafts, dynasty, and keepers, I'm going to assume your rookie drafts had happened. So a lot of this episode is going to be based on those redraft leagues, right? A lot of those redraft leagues that happen every August or every September. So you want to pay attention, because if I'm only doing this on Fridays, there's not a lot of Fridays left before your fantasy draft. So again, thank you guys for sticking with us. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like us here on YouTube, subscribe, whatever the case might be, and subscribe to us on other social media outlets, whether it be X, whether it be TikTok, whether it be Instagram. And like I said, coming to Twitch, I think that hashtag sports has you covered. So make sure you follow and make sure you like this video. The first thing I want to talk about on the very first episode, listen, news broke just today, probably yesterday if you're watching this. Aaron Rodgers to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, most of us knew this was going to happen. It was just a matter of time. We know how Aaron Rodgers likes the drama, right? He likes the drama, so he's going to make us wait. But here we are, right outside the start of mandatory OTAs, and Aaron Rodgers has made his decision. He's going to be with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the 2025 NFL season. So what, if any, is the fantasy impact? And let me tell you something, there is some. Okay, I know Aaron Rodgers has lost a step. I know that Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers of 2021. I get that. But when you talk about Aaron Rodgers versus Mason Rudolph, when you talk about Aaron Rodgers versus Skylar Thompson, Aaron Rodgers is a clear upgrade. And now he's 2 years removed from that Achilles injury? Can he find a little piece of himself? Maybe not the full thing, not the full thing. You're not going to get back what you lost at the age of 41, 42 years old, which he'll be at the end of this season. It's just not going to happen. But can you get a piece of what you used to have? And how will that affect the players around him this fantasy football season? The first one that, of course, has to pop into your mind is DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, wide receiver now of the Pittsburgh Steelers, going to be his first year in Pittsburgh. And now he has Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football. How will those two pair up? Listen, if you're a DK Metcalf fan, and there are some of you, I used to be a huge DK Metcalf fan. I remember when he was drafted in the second round, I was hoping the Bills would have picked him up. They never did. We all saw that picture of him next to AJ Brown, just looking beast is all I get out, like looking like his physique is out of this world. But as far as fantasy impact for DK Metcalf, he really hasn't lived up to that billing. He hasn't lived up to the billing that you want him to have as a fantasy football wide receiver. He's only been in the top 10 of wide receivers as far as fantasy points go one time in his whole career. And it's not like he's been just outside the top 10 his other seasons. He's been in the mid to late 20s, even early 30s when it comes to fantasy points for your wide receivers. So we're looking for a little bit more production out of DK Metcalf. And not only is Aaron Rodgers being in Pittsburgh going to be a big help, who else is Aaron throwing to? You have Robert Woods, who's a little past what he used to be, just like Aaron Rodgers. You know, Robert Woods used to be a Buffalo Bill, of course, had a few good seasons with the Rams, right? Matthew Stafford, able to give him over 80, 90 catches, I believe, one season. He had a few good seasons there. You can't deny him of that. But he's not the same receiver he was in St. Louis or wherever the Rams play, Los Angeles, whatever the case might be. I don't care. He's not that guy anymore. He's good possession receiver who's going to get a decent amount of targets simply because the cupboard's bare when it comes to wide receivers in Pittsburgh. You got DK Metcalf, your number one, clear cut, obviously, and then you got Robert Woods, and then it's like some guys, and you just don't know who Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the ball to. So when it comes to just target share, you know DK Metcalf is going to get his. Now, when it comes to reliability, we know that Aaron Rodgers can get frustrated sometimes with his wide receivers. We saw it last year with the Jets. And listen, last year, well-deserved. Because if you look at the Jets and the drop passes that they had, most by any team, and it's not even close, right? Most by any team, and it's not even close. I think they had over 30 drops with Aaron Rodgers throwing them the ball, which is the most for any quarterback throwing the ball to his wide receivers in the NFL. That's just crazy to think about. And still, Aaron Rodgers completed the ball over 60% of the time. Still not that bad. Not that bad. So you look at DK Metcalf. Maybe you guys had him late wide receiver number 2, maybe early wide receiver number 3, wherever you had him in that range. I think I had him late wide receiver number 2. Kind of moves up a little bit. Not to wide receiver number 1. Let's not get crazy. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But maybe to like the McLaurin, Sutton type range when it comes to wide receivers. That's where I would have DK Metcalf. Another interesting thought is, where does this put Pat Freiermuth? To be honest, if you're looking at Mason Rudolph throwing the ball to Pat Freiermuth or Skylar Thompson, I have Pat Freiermuth outside the top 10 when it comes to tight ends. To me, Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, Pat Freiermuth, and the lack of wide receiver depth in Pittsburgh, this to me moves Pat Freiermuth maybe just inside that top 10, maybe 8 or 9 when it comes to tight ends in your league. I think that that's a good place to have him. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Where does Aaron Rodgers affect this Pittsburgh Steelers team from a fantasy aspect the most? Is it DK Metcalf? Is it the bunch of other receivers that they have? Who is the receiver at Pittsburgh who makes a name for themselves, becomes that number 3 guy? Is there someone in Pittsburgh's roster right now that we don't know is going to step up and maybe make an impact as far as some touchdowns go, or something that might help deeper fantasy leagues? I don't know. I don't think so. I think when it comes to at least receivers, you look at DK Metcalf, that's it. Tight ends, you got Pat Frymouth. Aaron Rodgers himself, maybe low end number 2 backup quarterback in your league. If you have a 12-team league, 24 quarterbacks, he might sneak in there at the 23rd or 24th spot. I just don't know. I just don't know if I could trust Aaron Rodgers, even like going late into the season. What Aaron Rodgers are you going to get? And is it worth, taking a flyer on him as your number 2 quarterback? So if he does produce to 30% of the level he was at in 2021, you have him locked up. I don't know. I don't think so. But again, let me know what you think in the comment section. Aaron Rodgers, fantasy impact for the Steelers. It might not just go to the wide receivers, tight ends, and who he's throwing the ball to. You look at, they have a rookie running back now, Johnson, who they picked up, going to be sharing time in the backfield with Warren. The Pittsburgh Steelers always in the top 5 under Mike Tomlin as far as running the ball, running percentage compared to pass percentage in the NFL. They love to run the ball, limit possessions. That's their type of game. And so when you look at Warren, you look at the rookie, this is going to make the defense have to second guess if they can put 8 guys in the box every single down. Because let me tell you something, if Rudolph is passing the ball, if Thompson's passing the ball, I'll put 11 in the box until they beat me. It's not going to happen. So I think this might have an impact on the running backs in Pittsburgh as well. So if you're looking to get one of those running backs, I would double dip. If I'm in fantasy, I would get Warren. If I got Warren, I get the rookie as well. Because you just don't know who's getting those goal line looks yet. And when you talk about fantasy football, that's what matters most, is getting those touchdowns. So if you're in a keeper dynasty league, I would definitely look at the Pittsburgh Steelers rookie running back anyway. But if you're in a redraft league, you definitely want to look his way, especially if you're thinking about picking up Warren as a running back as well. Speaking of rookie running backs, one thing that I've been seeing a lot of, ESPN recently did a draft late April. You had NBC Sports do a mock fantasy draft mid-May, somewhere around there. The ESPN fantasy mock draft had Ashton Jeanty ranked as the number 2 running back in the NFL. He was picked 3rd overall in that fantasy football draft. I just couldn't believe it. I did not think that people thought that highly of Ashton Jeanty. Now, listen, if you're in a keeper league, if you're in a dynasty league, I understand you want to get this guy in your rookie draft number 1 overall. I think he's a stud. And I think as time goes on, as even this season progresses, he's just going to get better and better. I just don't know a one-season take. This is what you got. I don't know if Ashton Jeanty is the guy that you want. And I have a few reasons why. I know you're asking, Joe, why do you say that, man? Why do you say it? This guy might have the better rookie season than Saquon Barkley? Maybe. That's what some of you might be saying. I don't know. I don't think so. But when I think about a team's running attack, the first thing I think about is their offensive line. I don't look at the running back. I look at the offensive line. And if you go to PFF, and I know some of you like PFF, some of you hate PFF, it is what it is, whatever you want to do. If you go to PFF, they ranked the 2024 offensive lines. Where did the Las Vegas Raiders rank? 23rd. 23rd. And I know some of you are talking about the fact that the Raiders drafted a guard and a tackle in the 2025 NFL draft, and they did that. You're absolutely right. But now you're talking about 2 out of the 5 positions on the offensive line being new. If they're both starters, that means that these are both new positions on the offensive line, new players filling in those positions. That's 40% of your offensive line being filled in by 3rd rounders who need to catch up. Speaking of need to catch up to the offensive line, you have a new offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly. And for those young people who might not remember Chip Kelly in the NFL, not a good experiment. When he was with the Eagles, 1 year with the Niners, not exactly a good first stint in the NFL for Chip Kelly. Ask Buffalo Bills fans how he treats running backs. Thank you for LaShawn McCoy. Hope you like Kiko Alonso. Just ask Bills fans, ask Eagles fans how he did with an offensive scheme, because he's always been an offensive coach, right? His offensive systems seemed to work in college. And then, at least in his first stint as head coach, didn't seem to work in the NFL. Now that he's an offensive coordinator, less responsibility, will he be able to get those schemes to work with Pete Carroll as the head coach? And don't get me started on Pete Carroll, right? Ask Marshawn Lynch how Pete Carroll treats running backs in must-needed run situations. 3rd and 1, and you pass the ball. But that's not to say Pete Carroll does not normally have a good running back in his system. I mean, obviously, we all know about Marshawn Lynch. We saw Kenneth Walker for a few years. There were some other running backs in Seattle who did pretty well for themselves. So I don't want to say Pete Carroll doesn't know how to handle running backs. But again, a lot of that responsibility is going to be on Chip Kelly. And I just don't know if I trust Chip Kelly's offensive system in the NFL yet to say, yeah, let's go get Ashton Jeanty with a 1st-round pick. I just don't know if he's worth that right now in a redraft league. That's all I am saying. The other thing you have to think about is Mostert. What kind of touches will he get? Listen, I know that he will not take many carries away from Jeanty. I understand that. But just 2 years ago, he had 18 touchdowns. Again, different situation. He was a starter for 15 games. I understand that. But what is Chip Kelly planning to do inside the 5? Again, touchdowns. That's what matters most in your fantasy football leagues. Does Jeanty get enough touches inside the 5 to get a lot of touchdowns? You also look at Geno Smith. For all the success, 5 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, for all the success that Geno Smith had with them, only one of those 5 years did any one of the running backs in the backfield with him rush for over 1,000 yards. And that's Kenneth Walker 2 years ago, 1,050 yards exactly. Is that what you want out of a 1st-round pick, early 2nd-round pick? I don't think so. I think about Saquon Barkley. I think about Bijan Robinson. I would probably draft Christian McCaffrey, who should be back from injury, who was the consensus overall #1 pick last season, over Ashton Jeanty right now for the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, if you're in a keeper, if you're in a dynasty, clear #1 pick. I get that. I'm not saying that he's not. But if you're in a redraft league, I'm not saying he's not good. If he's there late 2nd, early 3rd, think about it. Maybe not even think about it. Take him. But I don't think he's going to be there. And I don't want, if you're in a redraft league, I don't want you simply looking at ADP and saying, oh, well, he's normally drafted here. He's normally drafted 10th. I have the 11th pick. He's still there. Gotta draft him. No, you don't. Go with your gut a little bit. Go with some research. Trust me. I don't care. Don't trust me. I don't care. I'm just saying there are some things to look at, some reasons for hesitation when it comes to Ashton Jeanty, especially in redraft leagues. So for this Friday, for this Fantasy Football Friday, I wanted to talk about Aaron Rodgers, latest news, going to the Steelers. What kind of fantasy impact will that make? We talked about that with DK Metcalf, Pat Fryermuth, maybe a little bit with the defense is not able to load the box as much. Maybe how about the running attack just a little bit compared to Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. We talked a little bit about Ashton Jeanty. Is he worth a 1st-round pick? Is he, because again, ESPN in April had him as the #3, #4 overall pick, as running back #2. NBC Sports had him as the 13th overall pick, running back 3, running back 4 maybe. I just don't know if he's worth that. You guys let me know in the comment section what you think about these 2 guys, the fantasy impact they may have. And also let me know in the comment section what you want to go over in the coming weeks when it comes to fantasy football. Maybe you're just starting your dynasty league. Maybe this is your first ever keeper league. Whatever it is, let me know. I will be here to help you out. So before we go, I want to end every show with maybe a future NFL future pick. And with Aaron Rodgers recently going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I thought, what great future bet to put up there to talk about than the Pittsburgh Steelers. 2025 win total still set at 8.5 the last I checked. The Aaron Rodgers news hasn't moved the needle too much yet. When I think about Pittsburgh Steelers, I think about Mike Tomlin. I think about his impeccable record of teams over 500. And I look at this 8.5, and I say it's disrespectful. To be honest, I would have this at 9.5. I think debating whether they'll get 10 wins or not is the debate to be had. I think that 9 wins is where I would sit with the Steelers right now. So yeah, 9.5 to me would be that number, which means in this, I would take the over 8.5. We know what Mike Tomlin does with inferior talent at the quarterback position. Maybe some would argue it's still inferior talent that he's getting in an old Aaron Rodgers, but it's better than what it was. It's better than what it was. So do you see the Steelers getting over 8 wins? Or do you think it's under? Again, I have it over. I have it at 9. I would have my over under at 9.5. My question is, can they get to 10? And can they make it to the NFL playoffs? Again, let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for just a little bit on this Friday. We talk fantasy football every Friday. If that's what you guys want, let me know in the comment section. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.
Hello, fellow Bills fans. Sean Rodgers, realtor and lead of the Mr. Rodgers Homes team. Did you know that real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth, and right now is one of the best times to own an investment property in Arizona? Please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions so we can take the next step to your financial freedom here in the Valley of the Sun, utilizing real estate. As always, God bless America and go Buffalo!